It's really difficult to find great executives. Spirit Consulting helps organizations find all-star executives and hire the right one using work psychology, so you can serve more customers and grow your business. To get a free quote, go to spiritmco.com. Enjoy the show.
Kelly, why don't you kick us off by answering the first question, who are you?
That's such a huge question. So I'm greeting you all from Switzerland, and I'm originally from Taiwan. You probably figure that my accent is very interesting. And so who am I? Well, I'm just, as normal as can be, a woman, and I'm a mom. I'm also a wife with two lovely grown-up children. And life-wise, me and my husband already got married over 20-something years, and we have been relocated over 3 continents.
Oh, wow.
That including 3 states in USA and Jamaica. Okay, so within about between 17 to 18 years. So I'm really good at packing, all different type of packing. We try it all. So if you want to relocate to somewhere you have a packing problem, I'm your gal. Okay, I think but that gal in Netflix very famous. I think Marie Kondo. I think she was to kind of help people to organize their home and all that. When I saw that show, I thought, yeah, she's my girl, And so, in other words, it's also some interesting thing is my husband is Swiss, I'm Taiwanese, and my children, our children, my daughter was born in Switzerland. My son is born in US. And so there was a time very interesting before I got my Swiss passport, and before my children, they can get their Swiss passport, and so there's one American passport, one Swiss passport, one Taiwanese passport, and then my husband actually also had German passport. So imagine the officer in the airport, and we have like the kids are when they were little. So we one hand hold one kid, and we push 4 passports in front of the officer's face, and then we always got to stare off. Are you sure you are a family? That type of thing. So that was fun to reflect back, but it's not fun at all when you have 2 pregnancy on the go, when you are doing the relocating. My formal career as a corporate executive in a luxury hospitality industry. And that's also where I met my husband. He was working at Ritz-Carlton. We were working at Grand Hyatt and some other luxury hotels and so on. So that's my corporate background. I'm a person of faith, and either spiritually speaking, I am the first Christian in my family. And so I came from a pretty broken childhood, when the time and the place when I was born, little girls did not mean much. We were just seen as a future baby production machine. No need to invest us anything, especially education. So growing up, that unfortunately, my mom was just one of my father's mysteries. So while she tried very hard to do her best to raise me and my younger brother up, she was addicted to gambling and alcohol. So there was about 1.5 decades of my life. I didn't know what gonna happen to me in the night while my mom came home with her drunken boyfriends. We are talking about, they both were drunk often, and so knife and furniture fly in the air, sexual abuse, violence, all that the type of stuff. And so really, now I thought back, I could really go either way, right? One go to very extremely dark. But I guess God really, positioned a couple of angels along the way, meaning some people in my life. And afterwards, after I pursue career, and still it's a pretty male-dominated situation. And there was often when I show up as one of the youngest executive and worst, quote unquote, female young executive, always seen as either, you are the secretary or you are, something else rather than your position. There was a time, a couple of times when I went on the board meeting with my boss, with other board members, and I went to the meeting floor. There was no ladies' room on that floor. And this is similar, like there's a movie in US, it's very famous, called Hidden Figures. There are three African American ladies. They were the true hero behind the scene when they launched the shuttle to the space. When the key cast, Catherine, in between, when she need to go to ladies' room, she literally had to run blocks away to go to ladies' room. Oh. So I experienced a similar thing like that, and really is by God's grace that I'm standing here, have this privilege to share some message with you guys, and so hopefully really encourage those who are watching or listening that if I can use my third language, build a location independent business and able to make impacts, then you also can do the same.
Well, oh man, woo! Kelly, you are on fire. I love it. I found that I just resonate with your story so well. And one of my favorite things to share with the world is people that can be hyper vulnerable. And I know oftentimes that we're told in the corporate world to, don't talk about that type of stuff. Keep it in, just basically keep it at home and don't bring it. But this is who we are. And so your ability to go there and go there as candidly and as quickly as you did, that's powerful. So thank you for sharing that. I think the follow-up question that I have for you, having heard kind of your overview, Kelly, is, thinking about that in today's society, that addictions are starting to kind of come to the light and recognizing, mental health as one of those things that's not necessarily faux pas anymore, but something that we can start to talk about. I would imagine going through the upbringing that you went through, there was a lot of woundedness that you had taken on. What was your healing journey like, if you wouldn't mind sharing with our audience?
There are different stages, right? Different kind of wounds, right? So one of it is obviously that between me and my birth father, right? Because basically he abandoned us. And so since I could remember us early as 5 years old, my mom started to move so often to different places. And when I saw other people, other kids, they have father, and mother together went to pick them up or send them to school. And mine is I had to walk myself to school. My mom was working, and also witness the chaotic situation between she and her boyfriends, different stage of boyfriends, you know, honestly speaking, I shouldn't have a good perspective for a father, right? And it was true until like and that obviously reflect to, therefore I walk into the wrong marriage pretty early after I graduate from university, because I try to
And Kelly, I've been there, done that too. So,
yeah,
so
I
done
try
right there
because
with you, sister.
yeah, because I try to escape the chaotic home. At the same time, my ex-husband was like 8 years older than me, because I tried to find a father figure, you see. And so totally wrong for these two reasons, totally wrong, right? To walk into the marriage. And then afterwards I got, mentally abused and, in that marriage. So you can imagine that my perspective for a man and a father were totally in the wrong place. And until that, just in the brink of when I was about to get divorced, and I already start working in my first stage of my corporate life, and there was a colleague. He is still a Christian. And now those years, that 2-3 decades ago, in Taiwan, where I came from, we only had 2% of population were Christians. So if you want to become one, you almost like you are rebelling against the culture, against the family, that type of thing. Okay.
I mean, that's already the picture that you're going against kind of where the rest of the culture is going. But yeah, in that situation with 2%, that's very much a good picture as to how you're communicating that journey for where you were 20 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like my mom literally disowned me when I told her I gotta get baptized, because it's very common in the Asian, especially Chinese family. At home, you have a little altar in your home, and because there you will worship your, ancestor every day or so, and that and at the meantime, my mom also worship a lot of different gods, So she asked me, what does baptism mean exactly? And I said, after I get baptized, I will not be able to, like before, running around with you to go to worship different gods and bring the food and all that. I also won't to their different altar tables. I also won't be able to, worship with the incense with this altar at home. So then she got very angry. She said, so you mean after I die, right? That's when they put a name on the wood board and they put on the in the family, you will not worship me. I say, yes, but I better treat you now well, then later on try to worship you according to the board, right? Of course, that's
great response. Great response.
However, yeah, it sounds a great response, but it's totally rebellious.
Against
the culture, right? So yeah, so she literally said disown me, and then I move out her place. And so we were talking about, again, the perspective toward a father and to a man, right? Until then I was, that colleague brought me to, he managed to find a church, and he managed to find a church. Actually, it's international church. Actually, it's a small community of, I guess we were about 100 people. The pastor are Americans. Pastor Jones and his wife, they were called to Taiwan, for that. But inside the community, we have different countries of people. So it's interesting. I never actually joined any Chinese speaking church, I always, from the very beginning, God already kind of put me into an international environment. And from there, it's when there was one thing is very clear experience, very special experience. It's I was totally new, did not really even read Bible. And we have the 3-day retreat for ladies, women retreat. So the only man is the pastor, right? All other leaders are all female because it's a women retreat. And there was a section, we were in a small group, everybody's a small circle and sit on a chair. And then they, the leader said, just pray. And then if you have something you want to share, you will pen and things, so other sister can pray with you together. And in my heart that day, I was reflecting all the painful moments from my father, and then also later on the chaotic situation with my mother, with men, and also my ex-husband. So all the very, very painful experience. And then my heart really aching. And I kind of just say, not so sure even out loud, I'm just saying, God, if you really real, because by then I actually don't quite believe God is real, I said, God, if you are real, you know how hurt I feel right now. I want a hug from you right now. And my pastor across the room suddenly stood up, walked across the room to me, and gave me a hug. And he said, God told me you need a hug right now from him. That was the first encounter with God that I sensed, okay, he's real. And healing started from there. Because healing started from there, say, okay, there is a Heavenly Father does care for me. Also, the healing, you see, when we are hurting, when we are hurt, we say people hurt, how do they say that? Hurt people hurts, right? I mean, basically,
hurt people, heal people, heal people.
Exactly, right? So I did not have any sense of, personal value, right? When now we talk about as a leader in any different kinds, I always say a lot of time, obviously in the corporate world, when we put leader that word, people right away think of position, right? Whatever the title or position. But actually, every single one of us are leader, right? If I ask you, say, are you a mother? Then you are leader. You're a father. If you're a parent, you are a leader, right? If you are a brother or sister, you are a leader, right? Are you a friend? Okay, you are a leader. You know why? Because oftentimes just the same as the biggest, probably the only Bible they are reading or the only leadership book they are reading, it's your life. It's your daily conduct. Whether we like it or not, we are leading, right? Because every single one of us have a measurement of influence, right? So when we are hurting, then we don't feel we have self-worth. Consider I was taught as a woman, right? Since I was a little girl, we don't have worth. You're just a property of man. And then went through all the chaotic thing and see my upper two generations, my grandmother, my mom, and myself, did not have a good experience with God and Father. But it's when the Heavenly Father showed up, and then obviously a sequence of things happen, then I start to able to receive the love So then I later able to give the love. So that is one of the many healing process.
Have you been feeling unfulfilled? You want to be happy, but just continue to struggle. One of the best ways to experience joy is by caring for the homeless. A charity I've grown to love, River of Light, food rescues 1 million meals per year for the needy in Chicago. Imagine how that make you feel, knowing that you're helping feed children and veterans. To make a tax-deductible donation, visit riveroflightchicago.org. Again, riveroflightchicago.org. No one should go to bed hungry. Thank you for sharing. At Spirit Consulting, we shared a thought leadership blog about, especially as we look to the Black Lives Matter movement and seeing, just the different ways that racism has been boiling up in the United States. And I know it just here domestically, I can't speak from an international standpoint. And I was just reflecting upon a retreat that I had been to recently where a priest, Father Matthew Lim, had talked about his work with veterans and the PTSD that they often come home with. And that oftentimes, like, psychiatrists' viewpoints to healing that as getting them on certain pills, and him looking at the percentages to that actually being effective. And they had a breakthrough in their own ministry and working with veterans with PTSD by exactly what you had just said, Kelly, helping them to reconnect with love, helping them to, before they go to bed, meditating on times that they've either given love to people or received love. And the more that they were able to do that, the more that their humanity was able to return and to walk through that. So it sounds like that's exactly what you had just communicated through your own journey, and obviously having that, that spiritual and intimate experience that you had as well. So thank you so much for just sharing that. I'm really hoping that blesses many people that are listening to this podcast as well. So I appreciate that. I think the other thing that's been on my heart really heavy as you were sharing your story, and I know that there's a lot of people that are hurting right now. And unfortunately, in this world, that we just all have our baggage, and so thinking about whether that be someone in the corporate world who's just been downsized, there's, a father that's having issues with his son, or, a daughter who's, fighting with their mom, etc. From these wounds that we have from our relationships that, unfortunately, because of our woundedness, that we oftentimes can wound other people. You've been someone that has been wounded at a level that many people don't ever experience that amount of pain in their lives. So I'm just kind of curious, can you also speak to a little bit about your own forgiveness journey with your mother and with your father, to be able to put that in the past and to be able to move forward in your own life?
Yeah, I think the first person that God want me to forgive actually is my ex-husband. So I always say that, when God is up to something, it's always he makes sure it happen, no matter what. So after we got divorced, I think it's about a year or so, and I remember was around a Chinese New Year, and I was home because it's holidays, and suddenly I feel a prompt in my heart. To God want me to call him and to say by my own mouth, say, I forgive you. And then, of course, the first moment I was kind of start to argue with God. I say, are you serious, God? You know how much pain, right? We went through it. Of course, any divorce, I believe, is not one partner's fault. That's for sure. But, in my perspective, I say, well, but so much pain and sin, and you want me to what? Call him to say it's all my fault. and I forgive you. He said, I want you to say I forgive you, right? I struggled for a couple hours that day, but my heartbeat pumped so fast, like double speed. And I knew that if I don't do it, this won't go away. So I finally had courage enough to dial the number. And I dialed the number. Was a lady pick up the phone. And then, of course, she asked who it is, right? And actually, in my mind, I was thinking, who are you? Right?
You know what's worse for your ex-husband to immediately pick up or another person and then have to go through that exercise?
Exactly. And then, so I just say, oh, I'm an old friend. Because I did not want to lie, but I did not want, because I did not know who she is. So I did not want to say, hey, I'm an ex-wife, right?
Right.
So I just say, I'm an old friend. She said, oh. I say, and you? And she said, oh, I'm the wife.
Oh.
So in my mind was all boiling, the anger all boiling up, right? I was thinking, God, you see, in my mind, it's all the conversation with God saying, you see, why you want me to call him to say, I forgive him? Obviously, he's living a happy life. He already even married again, right? And so I was kind of want to hang up. And then she was asking, is anything I can, the message? I say, yeah, not really. I say, well, is there any way to contact him? And she said, oh yeah, actually, he has a cell phone number. In those days, people, we hardly have cell phone. Okay, so it's like all day. I said, oh, really? So she gave me the cell phone number. And then, and I asked her, I said, do you really want me to call? So I call and then he picked up. And so it was very complex feeling, right? So, try to check and say, oh, how you doing and stuff like that and things. And then he obviously says, he just said, why you call? What did you call? I say, oh, great. So now I have to say what I need to say. I say, well, I just want you to know that I forgive you. And then totally silence, right? And he said, you think I'm the only one made mistake? So it just did not go the way it should, right? So I say, I'm sure I also made mistake. But in my mind still, well, about all the abuse. And I always think of all those painful situations. And he said, why exactly you call? You cannot just call to tell me this. I say, precisely I call is because of this. Because my God told me I need to call to tell you that. And then he loved it, right? Because he did not believe. So, but I done my job, right? I did it, right? So that was the first forgiveness. And then afterwards was my father. Actually, he passed away while we didn't live with him, but then he passed away due to health issue. And my mom wanted me to go to where it's a different part of the Taiwan, quite far away, to go to attend the funeral with among all his wives and mistresses and all their children. So for me, I feel like, why even go, right? But my mom said, you have to go. My brother wasn't willing to go. So I went. I couldn't shed a tear, a drop of tear at all. But I went because my mom said, I need to go. And I went. And there, I just kind of find an opportunity to say, I forgive you. Kind of just release it. And then the latest one is I had to forgive my own mother, because what she has done, well, she tried very hard to raise us up, but she also done the damage of those dark years. She even still did not know a certain things that what her boyfriend did to me. And so she also, when there's once that when she escaped, all of a sudden escaped, and took away all my savings, and because she owed a lot of gambling debt and things.
Oh.
And the time that we thought that my brother, my brother and me, after we move out, remember she kicked me out because I want to get baptized. Then I got a call from my brother saying, Mom is missing. And I said, what do you mean she's missing? And my brother said, well, she did not pay anything. Literally, no, not even underwears, not even ID.
Oh boy.
And she only left a little note, say, don't try to find me. I'm tired of living.
Oh no.
So that, and so in the next 2 weeks, we try everywhere, we try to find, but still where we trying to find her, the contact and thing, then we figure out, she hasn't paid a lot of debt, and my savings gone. And then within a week, I need to find my brother another place, because where I move out to just a teeny apartment cannot accommodate him. And at the same time, I need to pay off her debt. I also need to try to sell the furniture, because originally 3 people and her boyfriend live there. So we had to organize it in a week, and God performed miracle right there as well. And so a lot of damage and through the years, but the great news is she became a Christian a couple years ago. And that was one of the biggest miracle ever, right? But it's after I released my forgiveness, And so I often tell people, say, forgiveness is not forget. You probably will never forget, those things happened. The forgiveness is to release yourself. Because if we don't release the anger, the hatred, all that, actually the other side actually probably don't feel a thing, but it's ourselves hold on those very toxic feelings. So forgiveness actually is more for ourselves than for the other end. And I don't know whether this answers your question about.
No, it does for sure, because I was thinking about, even as you were telling me about your ex-husband, you pick up the phone, his new wife answers the phone. Now you're sitting there thinking, like, okay, he should be wrecked. He shouldn't be, having any sort of functionality going on in his life. And yet he's remarried and moved on. So it's like your unforgiveness and anger towards him is, in essence, you drinking poison and expecting him to be dying. Yet, meanwhile, you're the one who's sick inside and anger and having all these ill feelings. And so no, I just think that's beautiful. And then the other thing that just kind of resonated with me is that when you said that, I don't know if you were meaning this direct correlation or connection between the two, but in essence, like you saying that, with your mom, the way that she was living and how that, sexual abuse for yourself and addiction and gambling, and then you having to, pay for this in many ways, that is not an easy thing to be able to forgive, but then to be able to see her own transformation as you let her go and let God work in her own life, and her becoming a Christian. That's just, I can't think of a more beautiful witness to the power of forgiveness in one's life. So thank you for sharing that, Kelly. That story is phenomenal.
Sure thing.
So I wanna pivot a little bit into having you speak a little bit now about the work that you do presently. I thought it was so awesome what you had said too about the fact that you're using a third language to do your business in another continent. So that is also, I'm intrigued. So please tell us some more about that.
Well, I started have my virtual coaching and consulting business since 2008.
Ooh.
And I think when people, because now while this episode is recording, the whole wide world is still in the COVID virus situation, the shutting down now.
I'm just joking because we have no idea. I've got a pretty good sense as to when your episode is going to release, but yeah, we usually, the cat's out of the bag that we pre-record and then produce them later. But yes, you're right.
Right. Well, we just say when the time is recording, right?
Okay.
But everybody gotta do virtual, right? It's almost everybody. So, but when people often ask me, say, why you knew or you were that smart, you already had built your business in, basically now they have a fancy term called location independent, that many years ago, right? I say, well, it's God's idea, it's not my idea, right? So what happened is, as moments ago, we mentioned that we've been relocating crazy in that 17, 18 years. And after I got married with my husband, that we decided, well, one person should stay home because we don't like other people taking care of kids, right? Meaning you will hire a nanny or something. And, I'm not saying you shouldn't hire help, but I'm saying that parenting for me you cannot replace that. And so we decided I stay home. But from a corporate executive and become a totally full-time stay-at-home mom, it just made me feel my brain is itchy. I just need to do something. And from there, I start to I transfer my offline sales and marketing skills from the corporate world and gradually go to online. So I learned online marketing in very early years. Probably a lot of people now you are following some influencers. I probably learned from their teachers, and so that's quite a while back. And from the beginning, that also later on, because my love for people, and God started to direct to me that about a coaching. And so I was certified by ICF, International Coaching Federation. And later on, John C. Maxwell, I call him Papa John. John started the John C. Maxwell team, the certification program about 10 years ago. And then we live in US. US is our second home because we live there over 10 years. And I was, somebody reached out to me from his team, say, do you consider this? And I become one of his first batch coaches. So, we dive into leadership. And so we also do a lot of leadership training for corporation and that type of things. And my clients is always have both Christians or non-Christians. People are not necessarily share the same faith. But before we moved back to Switzerland, that's about 6 years ago. So, and God did tell me, say, the moment that we move home, which is my husband's home, he's from Switzerland, that I will have to take out a banner that I work with Christian entrepreneurs, because he said, Kelly, I need you to feed my sheep in the marketplace. Because a lot of Christian entrepreneurs or business owner or executive that you want to start to build your own hustle or anything personal brand based, the idea, it's unfortunately a lot of teaching front of the pulpit is not correct. Because Chris, you probably hear that the term of, we have 7 mountain different sphere of influence, right? 7 mountain meaning, okay, mountain of business, mountain of religion, mountain of education or media and art and all that. So in business mountain, right, you and me, we are in, each mountain have its own different measurement stick. In the business mountain, the 2 measurement stick is a revenue number and the impact you create, right? And we cannot use the same mindset how we run inside within the wall of a church to run in the business mountain. And I see that mistake just be made often, so often. And also the mindset, right? We have dealing with a lot of issue of a money mindset. We have Christians have two extreme camp. One is poor is holy. The other camp is I am highly favored, so I should have everything. Both are wrong, right? And I think so. That's a part of the thing that God entrusts me to equip and empower the Christian entrepreneur to build their profitable personal brand-based business. And so that is my job, I call it, since after I hit 50, that pretty much is God said, here, this is what you need to do. And so that's what, in this season of my life, that is my mission.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing. So this podcast, Kelly, as you know, is all about business and virtue. Can you speak a little bit about where those two intersect for you in your own business?
Business and virtue, for me, it's integrity. If your business is without virtue, then you don't have integrity. When you want to build a business without virtue or let's say integrity, then you cannot stand long, right? And now when I say that, especially in the Christian world, we want to see in a different angle. When I talk about a business with integrity or not, right where people sort of those bad business people, they are very filthy and they provide bad quality stuff but they charge people. That's true. But I want you to think about the other flip side of the thing. What I'm dealing with is a lot of Christians, when they come to the business world, they are so struggling to put the right pricing on their service. They are not charging what they should. And because, again, the mindset inside the church, right? Either it's free or you should give a lot, but you should just charge a very little price. That type of mindset. For me, that's also lack of integrity. Why? Because everything God give us in your hand, your time, your talent, your relationship, right? Your mental space, your bandwidth, which is all these are very frequently invisible, but frequently be overlooked. All these, and of course, and money, all these, if you don't put a right price on, then you are not exercising out the right integrity because you basically are insulting what God has given to you, right? So I know maybe I'm not really answer your question in a different way, but for me, business and virtue, it's like almost like one coin on both sides, right? How can you not have without virtue and you can have business? Ultimately, for me, any business owner, any entrepreneur, our job is to solve problems. And that problem is so valuable enough that there are people willing to pay you. For Christian entrepreneurs, I say that our job is to download the heavenly solution that God has given to you. And then you will be applied on earth. So that's called heaven on earth. Not wait till that you finish on this world and then you go to heaven. No, that's too late. Then God doesn't need you anymore to do the work, right? So our job is you need to have a close relationship with God, and you download the solution to solve the problem on earth. And so you can create the value and impact. And that is our job.
Boom. Let's go. I love that, Kelly. We are a bunch of heavenly solutionaries to the challenges that we find here on earth. And I think that's so crystal clear. And I also loved what you said, like, usually people think about lacking integrity of you're a bad and evil person that's trying to cheat people just to drive up the highest profits as you can, but also people that feel like that, for whatever reason that they may be not charging the accurate price. That's also, lacking integrity too. So if you were an individual that finds themselves in that situation, what are some tactical steps that you usually communicate to help your clients to start working towards getting them to where they, where their pricing levels should be, where competitors are pricing in that example that you gave?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question. And that's why, in my work, right, we have a framework called Power One framework. And that Power One framework, if I sum in one sentence, is what is that number one solution you can provide to your number one client with the number one transformational result by the best current version of you. So it's 1, 1, 1, 1. That's why it's Power One. That is mostly totally against what this world, because normally this world, almost that all, I don't want to say all, most of the marketing programs out there, when they teach the entrepreneurs or business, say, when it comes to sales marketing, they normally say, oh, that's to figure out who is your ideal client or target audience. And that's to figure out what to sell them. And that's to figure out how to generate leads. That's most of the programs. But they overlook the most important part is the business owner or the corporation themselves, the identity. Because let me ask you a question, Chris. Do you have those moments that you know exactly what you should be doing today, but you cannot pull yourself to do it?
Does that happen to me? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the time, all the time.
Right.
I think we would be lying to say that.
Yeah, we would be lying, say we never have that, right? Yeah. And you know why is that though? Because you haven't 100% embrace the new level identity that God wants you to have. So let me explain this with a very simple real life situation. So before I hit 50, we moved back to Switzerland about when I was at 47 or so. I never walked into gym a day in my life. Okay. But God told me, Kelly, I need you to get fit because I'm about to open a lot of speaking stages for you. I thought, I wasn't overweight. I wasn't, but I knew in my deepest part of my heart, I am not strong enough. I sometimes feel tired easily or whatever, stuff like that. So, okay. So then I start to look for how I can get fit. We live in a place we can walk 5 minutes to forest. And until last year, we still have our Labrador with us. So we have to walk that dog, 4 times a day. So, yeah. So then my family say, oh, you just make sure you walk the dog and then you jog. And then because Swiss people love jogging. So they'll say, just go jog, right? But then here is a self-awareness kicking. which is leaders. I always say the deeper self-awareness you're willing to have, the faster you will grow. I sit down with myself, ask myself this question. Kelly, do you like jogging? Answer, not really. Okay. Now, here, 4 seasons, very obvious. Will you jog on rainy day? No. Will you jog on snowing day? No. So also me and all the bugs, all the insects, we are not friends, right? Because I came from a metropolitan city, right? So we are not friends. So that means I will find a lot of excuses that I won't go jogging, right? So then I said, okay, so what's the solution? Okay, weather control, that means indoor. Okay, so that means gym then. Then I go to research a gym and I found I joined one. When I put that paper home, I think that was at July, August that year, my family member laughed at me. Because remember, I never walked in the gym in my life since then, until then. So they thought, yeah, mom, right. My husband, yeah, right. I give you a month, right? 12 months later, I lost 7% body fat. And again, I don't remember how much percentage of muscles, right? Because I stick with 3 days a week. From the beginning, it's like pulling teeth, right? I feel like really I have to go again. But then I remember, what did God tell me? Oh, He wants to open those stages for me because I need to get fit. I need to become one of the fittest women at her 50s. So after that, I totally embrace that identity of not because I want to look good, not because I want to lose weight, all that, but I want to become the new person. After a year, funny, tech they start to open. A couple of prestigious business stages start to open for me. I even did not pitch them. More interesting, you know, after speaker, they speak and then off the stage, especially in the conference, that people want to go to take photo with speakers, right? So I got the most, comment about, okay, great content, all that. But the one most common comment is, Kelly, just curious, this is really nothing to do with the content, but how did you get yourself fit? It's funny because my niche, nothing to do with fitness, nothing. Right? But you see, so meaning identity. If we don't care about identity, that's why my website is Identity Aligned Success. The moment you become that person, the moment that you can attract your ideal clients. Because it's a mirroring process. A lot of people came to me from the beginning, Kelly, why I cannot attract my ideal clients? I said there's 2 potential problems. One, either you are not that person yet, can serve that type of client that you think you want to serve. Number 2, you already there, but your communication out there did not reflect you are there already. Either or, right? Success Magazine in US, Darren Hardy, chief editor, right? Years back, that I'm in one of his program. He said this before he got married. One day he sat down, write down what kind of woman he want to marry to. So it's about like 30 criteria, right? He was so satisfied. He went to bed. The second morning he woke up. He looked at that list. He suddenly had epiphany. He said, but then, what kind of amazing man this woman is willing to marry to? Therefore, it's a mirroring process.
That specific discipline was how I knew to marry my current wife, Hannah, because I made that list and I looked myself in the mirror and grew to the person that I thought that person would want to be able to marry. And so I had told her about that while dating. And then basically her roommate was like, well, pull out the list. Like, why, you guys are in your mid-30s. Like, there's no point of just, screwing around anymore. Like, why don't you guys just let's see how Hannah matches up. And so we went each item through that list, and she either met that ideal of what I was looking for or exceeded it. That's when I knew that this was the woman that I was meant to marry. And but thank you for that. I think that's a great exercise too, of writing down, what is the ideal client? What are the traits, 20 to 30 traits of our ideal clients that we want to serve? And then, to take yourself through that exercise, which can be brutally, it can be a brutal exercise if you're really being honest with yourself. Are we that type of business that this type of client is actually going to want to do business with? And then if not, then you've got some areas where you need to grow and develop into. So I love it. I love the work that you're doing, Kelly. I love your story. It's so good. How can people get a hold of you and the work that you're doing?
Pretty much everywhere in social media is a Kelly Baader. Because I have a very special German last name, Baader, so that's a good thing. And otherwise, you can go to, if you want to learn about Power One Framework, you can go to kellybaader.com/learn. And so then you can can watch a free presentation and go from there.
Great. That's so excellent. Well, appreciate it so much. Thought really enjoyed you being on the podcast today. It's been such a delight to be able to spend this time with you, and just looking forward to seeing how this episode blesses all of our viewers as well. So thank you for your transparency and for your time today, Kelly.
You're so welcome.
Hey, Chris here. Hope you enjoyed the episode where we discussed all things going bald. Just joking. If you enjoyed the episode and the podcast, will you please subscribe on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify? Or you could also share it with a friend. That would be tubular. I hope you have an awesome day.